Good evening and welcome to another episode of the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. We again are rolling a little short in terms of crew members, but nonetheless wanted to get a show going for you guys. Harry unfortunately had to work tonight, but Gordino, Todd, glad you're back, man. We missed you last week. I feel like there weren't enough F-bombs, for our guests. They always look forward to those. And welcome, Todd. How are you doing, man?
I did appreciate you guys picking up the F-bomb slack, though.
We did kind of pick up the F-bomb slack, but Gordino, you had a trip out there to Laredo to go catch a Laredo Heat game. I know you posted that video earlier on our Twitter feed, so be sure to check that out, man. That's awesome work. We're all just trying to kind of learn and get a feel for how we can promote the different things that we follow. But tell us a little bit on the episode about that Laredo Heat game.
Yeah, man, it's Laredo's roughly about 2.5 hours down I-35, right on the border with Mexico, and the team plays at the Texas A&M International University. They have a soccer complex out there, and they play there. It's $5 tickets. Kids under 12, as long as they're wearing red, get in free. They have $2 beers, man. And it's a small, as far as capacity wise, it probably fits about maybe 500 people, maybe 600. But man, Laredo has a great team. On the field product is wonderful. They've only allowed 4 goals, I believe, in 9 matches, and their goal difference is 32, I think, right now. They're a 32 plus, and they're number 1 in the NPSL. They earned yesterday. They earned with that win on Saturday. I'm sorry, a 6-0 win over Katy, 1895. They earned themselves a bye in the playoffs, the first round playoffs.
Nice.
And then they'll host all at home all through the playoffs. If they get to a championship game, all the games are going to be there in Laredo. And yeah, man, just a shout out to the staff out there. They hooked me up with great. I want to say. I was almost part of the team. I was so close on the field. I felt like a third striker out there. A shout out to the Ashwani family out there. And man, you know what? Their owner, he sits right on half field, and he's up against the railing, and he's just there motivating the teams, man. Him and his kid plays the drums there. They have a drum thing there, and every time they score, man, him and his son, how they NFL players, when they score, they jump and they bump each other. They did that every goal. They would do that, man. It's fun. He runs down the stands, high fiving everybody. It's just it's a great experience. I was able to witness. Hopefully, I can go to one of the playoff games that they have. I think they're also going to be playing Rayados U20
Nice.
here in the next week or so. So yeah, they have a good program down there. Very professional.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome, man. That sounds like a lot of fun. I know me and Todd were kind of talking about just with Samba and the Blossoms and some of these lower divisions, how many of them see that much success that obviously the Laredo Heat has had here in their first season, kind of. And there were a couple mentions, Todd, but I mean, do you think you really see that much success that often in some of these lower divisions?
Well, yes, Laredo Heat's not new. They've been around
Since '04.
But it's amazing. They're undefeated. Well, they're not even undefeated. They've won every match.
Yeah.
So their success on the field success is phenomenal.
I do wish it would transfer to the community, man. Just by the way they're outscoring opponents 6-0, 4-0, 5-1. There was maybe 250 people out there.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish that they could fill up those stands that they have out there, man. It would be something special. I know towards the end, they were doing the whole ole every time they would make a pass, and it was like a small group of people that would do it, and they have a little chant going on. But I mean, I don't know what it is. I know a lot of it has to do with the Liga MX and the loyalty to what fans have.
And being so close too, right? Being there in Laredo.
Yeah, being so close to, and then also there's this stigma of lower league, a Division two, Division three, Division four. If it's not Division one, I don't want to know about it.
That's still a good crowd at that level, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. But
you know,
I mean,
not
for that
every-
product on the field,
Yeah, for being a number one team. And I'm sorry, I apologize. I forgot they've been around. This was their first year playing in this league. Is that
right.
correct? So the team's been around for a while, but just to have that much success in your inaugural season, you know, we really haven't seen that locally here in San Antonio. It's interesting that you say that, Jose, though, because I have some customers that are in Laredo, and that's like the first question I ask them when I call them is I'm like, hey, have you gone and checked out like a Laredo Heat game? Because
what they
like,
say?
no. And I'm like, man, they're like 9-0. They're doing really good. Like, go check it out, man. Just
But
as a
then
soccer
again,
fan.
they're gonna bring back hockey to South Texas, and that one has 5,000 people in the arena every game. So I mean, come on, hockey in South Texas.
Maybe it's a little bit cooler inside those arenas,
yeah.
though, right? They're air
Yeah, that's
conditioned.
true.
You got to wear a sweatshirt, you know. And it's so crazy because it's like, you know, most of us living here in Texas, Todd, I know you might not have this experience growing up here, but it's like we deal with the heat on a daily basis with our professional lives. Some of us, you know, with personal lives, whatever. But it's like, it's so often, you know, whether it's a San Antonio FC game or a Blossoms game or a Samba game, man, it's 105 degrees outside. I want to sit in that AC, you know? So maybe that plays a little bit of a factor because I'm sure Laredo gets pretty hot when it comes to some of those games.
But what they did start doing is, I think before they were playing their games at 7:30 like we do here, but they moved it back to 8:15 so
Okay.
the sun's down. So I mean that's a pretty cool. Because what the owner was telling me, he wants the product on the field to be as good as possible.
Oh, yeah?
And if the sun affects that, then he's willing to wait a little bit longer to have the game start at 8:15.
That's a great point. I mean, we know Coach Rexroth he wanted to do games at 2:30. There was Samba, and then eventually just had to make that change because the later you can play, the better. And if it affects the product, like you're saying, I mean, that's taking it kind of to the next level. But one thing I was kind of curious about as far as the quality on the pitch, what was the field like? I mean, I know you were right there on it, dude. So what did the
It's pristine, man. It's the university does have a soccer team. I believe they're Division two, I think.
okay?
So it's a women and men's soccer, and they're fairly successful. You know, they go into playoffs almost every year and stuff. So they do invest into the soccer field. There wasn't any. I've seen you know those USL pitches on baseball fields, and it's way better than that.
Yeah, no,
It was way better than that.
that's pretty sad when you've got teams there in the USL playing on worse fields than you have there with Laredo Heat. But
Yeah.
kudos to them, man, for doing it right
Yeah.
and making sure the product is good. And, you know, you build a brand, you have the right brand, and hopefully the community will kind of eventually get woke, as they say nowadays, to what's
Yeah.
going on out there, man. That's awesome.
Well, how was their attendance when they were in the PDL?
It was about, you know, they'd have 300, 400 people, but I just think them coming back, not a lot of people know they're back because they did take off, I think, 2 years off from the professional team. They still have the academy going. And I noticed a lot of people, as they were coming in, they were saying hi to each other. So it's probably just family members of the same academy kids or of family members of the guys actually on the field. And like I said, man, the owner practically shakes hands with everybody out there coming in. He knows, he speaks to a lot of guys. He's a super down-to-earth guy. And yeah, I don't know if it's because because Tammy, the university is kind of like on the outskirts of the town.
Okay.
Like let's say 1604 outside on the loop. So I don't know if that has to do anything with it. I'm not sure. But I mean, for them to have a perfect team, not undefeated, just a perfect team. And I mean, Laredo's is soccer crazy, but for some reason they're not picking up the heat. And I think it has to do a lot of with just the stigma about, you know, fourth division or semi-pro soccer, and
Yeah.
versus their loyalty to their clubs from Mexico or Europe or whatever.
My whole thing, though, is if there's not a match for your main team, what's $5 to go out and watch soccer? That's,
Yeah.
you know,
And that's it. I mean, that's exactly it. So I appreciate you bringing us that news with the Laredo Heat. I'm excited for the season that they've had. That's pretty cool. Like when they first announced it, I remember all that, and you getting kind of hyped up and pumped about it. And you've got out there now. This was your second game, right, so far this season?
Yes, second game.
Yeah, so it's cool to see them having so much success, and wishing them all the best of luck. So hopefully we can help to maybe promote that and get a bigger following out there to some of those games, because it is really awesome what's taking place out there in Laredo. So they obviously had a very positive result against the team from Katy. I went out there to the Samba FC game, who was playing Atletico Katy this past weekend. Unfortunately, didn't have as much success as what the Laredo Heat was able to have. Ended up losing. The final was 8-1. But overall, getting to see Atletico Katy play and thinking they were just going to be this powerhouse that was just infinitely more talented than what Samba was, they kind of held their own there, at least for the first half. I think where Atletico Katy is so talented and so good is that if you make a mistake, they are going to score. Like, they're not going to shank it. They're not going to miss it. They're going to capitalize on every opportunity that they get. And that's kind of what makes a team great. I feel like that's kind of sometimes in some of the lower divisions what separates some of the teams that are talented, versus the teams that are just really good. And that's exactly what Atletico Katy did. There was a little bit of breakdown there in the defensive line, I felt like, for Samba. Otherwise, they played really well. But it's like every time that there was that counterattack that they got through, Atletico Katy was putting one in the back of the net. It almost reminded me, as hard as it is to talk about it, the Mexico game versus Germany, where that game very easily could have been 4-0 instead of 1-0, but Mexico just failed to capitalize on some chances. And that's kind of what happened out there versus Atletico Katy. So Samba ended up losing that game 8-1. Like I say, they're a couple steps off from being able to compete with that team. I feel like they're a couple positions away. They're right there in the mix, but definitely just on the outside of what I feel like I saw from Atletico Katy. Todd, I know you've had a chance kind of to watch a lot of the Samba games. What do you feel like, just like the team as a whole, how close are they to being competitive in that division?
The problem with that division is Coach Rexroad going to be able to keep a lot of the same players and build, a squad. We see it, following lower league soccer with Detroit City or, Jose when the Laredo Heat, because he's been following them for years. You see that player turnover. It's not the same team year in and year out. So is he going to be able to maintain at least a core squad that can, grow together and, become the leaders of that team to take on the additional players? Because individually there's a lot of talented players. He has a very young squad, and you can see some of that big game inexperience with the mistakes and everything. And they just need to get over that hump. And that's what separates, at this level, the teams that win their division and win their conferences and the teams that play well, but they play well.
Yeah. And at the same time, with him kind of developing these players in some of the places that they're going, I think it's going to be hard to kind of build that core, because I think that's what the goal is for the team, just from the discussions that we've had with them, is helping to prepare them for the next level. So I think there is going to be a little bit of a higher turnover, like you mentioned. That's a great point, because the players that are successful, that have the ability to play at the next level, he's wanting to try and help them grow to be able to go there, and so then you're starting kind of all over.
And especially with the way the USPL, or, the USPL's UPSL season is, with that split spring-summer,
fall.
Or spring-fall, you're going to lose half of your all those college players aren't going to be able to play in the fall, because that's when the college soccer season's going.
That was my next question. Are they going to lose some players to college?
Yeah, like fall? Aguilera's going to Texas Lutheran. There's a couple players that are committed to colleges that they'll lose. That are starters.
Yeah, I did see them post that they're going to have tryouts here shortly for the fall season. Is that why? Because they're going to want to put in players for the ones leaving?
Yeah, they're going to do the open qualifying for the U.S. Open, and then the fall season, you need to replace those college players that are, going to that next level.
That's very interesting. The U.S. Open for them starts in the fall. opposed to we're used to it starting in March.
Right. Yeah, I think it's October, right? Coach Rexroth said on the last episode that they're going to start.
So you appreciate these lower league teams, their U.S. Open Cup run is even longer.
They got to go through 3 qualifying matches to make it to the first round proper, and there's so many stupid rules involved. So if for some reason, let's say they make it through the 3 qualifying rounds, and then in December they say the UPSL closes its shop and they go to the NPSL. Well, guess what? They don't get to go to the U.S. Open because they switch leagues.
Right. You have to play the league for a year.
Which, to me, isn't really fair if you went through the Open qualifying process. I understand it if, Laredo Heat, if they make it to the Final 4 of the NPSL, will get an automatic berth to the U.S. Open Cup. If they switched leagues, I can understand losing that Open Cup because
it's
you
a lower
qualify
league
based on your position in that league.
Yeah.
You didn't play for like a
right,
like a knockout kind of thing.
Right. If you played into it, what league does it really matter?
Yeah, you won the qualifying. That tournament should be separate from the league that you're playing in, basically,
right,
is what you're saying. No different than basically any other youth soccer tournament. They don't care what you did in Select or Classic Elite or whatever.
Right.
It's what you did in this tournament. So that makes sense. I get where you're coming from. Well, just to kind of recap on Samba, they've only got a couple games left. They will have an away game versus FC Knights on the 7th. And then their last home game of the season will be on the 14th of July against Round Rock SC, which, if memory serves me correct, beat Atletico Katy. So, that's going to be another game that it's just going to be a great team to watch for this division for soccer. Don't know, didn't look ahead that far. Does San Antonio FC, off the top of your guys' head, have a match on the 14th of July?
10.
Let me get a 10 point.
Usually Jose has his little printouts that we can hold up in front of the camera. I don't have the cut screen.
They got a 14th, and it's an away game.
So it's an away game. So there you go. Yeah. So there's the magnet. Hold it up, Jose, for all of our viewers. So there's your 2018 San Antonio FC schedule. So they will have an away match. That's a perfect. If you haven't gone out there to a Samba game yet, it's kind of similar to what Jose described with the Laredo Heat matches, in my opinion, where you get a couple hundred people out there. They're kind of the core supporters. A lot of them are probably friends and family of the players. But it's a fun environment, and Coach Rexroth tries to make sure he's shaking everybody's hands, introducing himself, thanking them for coming out. And I know the players really appreciate it. So they will have an away game on the 7th, but next week, the following week, they will have a home game against Round Rock. So we'll be sure to just remind you guys of that before that game. But Todd, Samba FC wasn't the only San Antonio team playing here this weekend. The San Antonio Blossoms finally had some positive results. And here at home, they're at Blossom Athletic Complex. Golly, I'm sorry. Thank you for helping me out there. Yeah, at the Blossom Athletic Complex. Tell us a little bit about what the San Antonio Blossoms were able to do there at Blossom.
It was a tough weekend, back-to-back matches. They got their first points on the 30th against the Royals in a 1-1 draw. Very next day, they came back against the Texas Titans and won 4-3. Unfortunately, their playoff hopes are eliminated, but you finally got those points. You got them at home in front of your hometown crowd. And they got one more match left at the Blossom Athletic Complex. Next Saturday, they're playing the TTI Bluebonnets, who defeated them in the first match of the season. So everyone go out there. Unfortunately, I didn't get out. I had to work, new job and all. Couldn't really take the time off. But go out to Blossom's Athletic Complex on the 7th and support the ladies. Last game of the season.
Yeah, I'll probably be out there for that one for sure. Like I say, Samba's away, and I unfortunately wasn't able to make the Saturday match because I was at the Samba game. So, and then Sunday evening. Sometimes you got to have at least one night just with the family away from soccer and stuff like that. Plus,
Come on, your daughter will love going out there.
She will. I'll take her out there. That's a great point. She used to love going to the Athenians games. So, and also too, I'm really hoping to get one of the San Antonio Blossom players on one of our episodes. Just to talk a little bit, I know we've kind of had some confusion as to just what type of club they are, like what some of their goals are, social media things, but really wanted to get her viewpoint on the difference between playing for the San Antonio Athenians and now playing for the San Antonio Blossoms. One of their standout players, in my opinion, from the one game I've been able to see, but was also a standout there with the Athenians, and that's Cristina Nunez. So hopefully we can get her on to talk to her just about what her experience has been like playing for both organizations and get a little bit more insight into the Blossoms. But yeah, definitely we'll be out there on the 7th to support them. So go check it out.
I got a question though, and you guys kind of hit on it a little bit with the social media talk last week.
Mm-hmm.
You got Samba wrapping up, the Blossoms are wrapping up, Laredo Heat's wrapping up. So we're talking about lower league soccer.
Right.
And obviously, Samba's out of the playoffs. The Blossoms are out of the playoffs. So most people would say their season was not successful. At this level, is that how you would judge a season? A club's success solely on that?
Not even making the playoffs, or.
Well, but their record, you got Samba's only, taken 3 points so far. Blossoms have only taken 4 points. Is that all there is in lower league soccer? Is it strictly record? Is that how you would define success?
I think a big part of what we can say or judge whether it's been a successful season or not is where do these players go from here? Do they continue the sport? As far as maybe college or try to move up to a Division 3, Division 2 team, or do they stick around, or do they just completely, just forget about soccer? Because not all the players that are playing right now are going to college. Not all the players are going to make it to a professional team. And them being especially Samba and Blossoms being a first year teams, I guess you could say. I mean, was it in their was it in their goals to make the playoffs? Probably, but is it a failure? Not if it's a failure to me if you played just the season just to play it.
Yeah.
But if you played it with a purpose of making good soccer, improving players from the first day they arrived to now or to the final game, was there an improvement on a certain player or on certain players? Then that's how you can judge. If there wasn't, if it's just been the same thing over and over, then I think it'd be a failure. But if there was at least one player that you say, you know what, the first day of practice they barely had a shot of making the team versus now they improved 100%, then I don't think that's a failure.
And that's definitely one way to look at it, is as far as player development goes, how did you succeed throughout the season as far as player development? But then there's how did you succeed as far as building your brand? How did you succeed? I mean, are you going to be back next year? So I think that's a fair question, Todd. That's a really good question.
Yep.
But
it started with the conversation we were having with Detroit City, some of, my friends up there, because obviously they made it to the Final Four last year in the NPSL. This year they're knocked out of the playoff and the season's not over yet. So it was, was the season successful? And when you look at it on the field, I would say it's not a success.
Right.
When you look at the other aspects, the attendance once again increased over the year before. They brought in
international matches.
2 Bundesliga team,
right.
Liga MX and a Serie A from Italy team are coming for friendlies. Their streams have been viewed out in over 100 countries. So the season on the field's been not successful for them. but the year has been successful for them.
And that's where I get to the point of you have different areas where you can have successes and not successes. You can have success in player development. You can have success in building your brand. You can have success in the result that you got. Like if you want to look at the season, you look at the season San Antonio FC had last year, and it was a huge success on the pitch. It was a huge success in player development. It was a huge success in just building their brand and attendance numbers and things like that you saw on social media, you know, and all that stuff getting better. And then you look at this season, and there's going to be some areas that were successful and probably some areas that weren't as successful, you know. So to answer your question just more specifically, I think in lower league soccer, you can't use the results on the schedule to determine the success of the club. Because even the Athenians last year, they didn't make the playoffs. They were right on the cusp as far as results went because of a forfeit that they had to have due to a player that was then reversed and then reversed again. They missed the playoffs basically by one game. But then where were they the next season? You know, so it's there's different ways to measure success. I feel for some of these lower level clubs, the results on the pitch definitely aren't what you want to look at. What you want to look at is what did you learn? Where did you grow? How did the players grow? What are you going to do differently next year to be better? And I guess I would just compare it to something I've experienced recently and something I know you've experienced kind of recently. When you're going to a job change, you know, I look at kind of my performance each day and how can I do better? And that's how you gauge success. You know, it's not necessarily where you're at as a whole. It's where you're at individually. You know, how do you make yourself better?
You know, and then with the Blossoms especially, it's I look at the results on the field, and you can't be happy with it. And then I look at their engagement with the community, and I'm and you look at their social media feeds. They've posted more game day music playlists than they have results.
We're starting 11 or 18 even, a roster. And I know some of that's too.
So to me, that's they failed on their engagement to the community. They failed on the pitch so far, and it's again, it goes back to that. I'm not quite sure, as we said before, what the club's goals are, and whereas Samba, they've looked really good on the pitch. They haven't got the results, so obviously, record-wise, you can't say it's a success. But they've engaged the community. They've
built a
done
brand.
The other aspects of it. So you got two new clubs. One that I would say has been a success for the year, and one to me is a failure for the year in San Antonio.
Now you also got to judge them the following year if they come back or not. Do they learn from their mistakes, or do they keep doing the same things,
right?
Or not doing the same things?
Right.
That's where we got to wait till next year and see what.
So it can just be a learning experience, and a learning experience is still a success, right? Even if it's just a learning experience, But we definitely wanted to cover some of the Samba, Laredo, San Antonio Blossoms. We definitely believe in just supporting local soccer, regardless of the level, regardless of men's, women's, all that good stuff. But just to get into San Antonio FC, obviously we're able to steal a point off of a PK, which, Rafa Castillo just seems to be, I get why he's your kick taker, but, most of the goals I feel that he's scored kind of in the last couple seasons that's been how he scored,
Penalties.
Yeah, and he's your kick taker. I'm not dogging him for that, but, it's definitely just kind of interesting to see him go from with the Scorpion days and how good he was just being a goal scorer and creating chances to, making those goals now on PKs. And I feel like there should almost kind of be an asterisk on a goal that you score as a PK, you count it in your stats, but shouldn't it kind of be counted separately from some of the goals that we've seen from Alex Bruce and some of the other players? But just kind of wanted to get you guys' recap from the San Antonio FC match. I was out there at the Burleson Yard Beer Garden watching with Beard versus Beans. And just to give them a plug real quick, it's two brothers, Miguel and Matt Skinner, that have a huge passion for ending Alzheimer's. And they do this event every year. They do a lot of different events, actually. On Sunday, I was out there at the Longest Walk, which was a 5K to benefit Alzheimer's that Miguel put on. So definitely check out Beard versus Beans on social media for more information. We can probably have them on a show if you guys are up for it.
Yeah.
again, just two really good dudes that are doing a really cool competition. Look them up. We'll talk more about them. But anyways, was watching the match out there at Burleson Yard Beer Garden. Todd, what were your thoughts from the game versus the Colorado Switchbacks?
I saw the lineup and it was okay. What's going on here? And now, while I didn't think we played bad when I watched the match, for those field conditions,
oh my gosh,
atrocious. Could we have played better? That one. He went back to that one striker, which hasn't produced results all year long. Went away from the multiple, front line, which had been getting results, and looking better and getting the opportunities. I'm completely confused by San Antonio Football Club this year.
You don't know. It's like you don't know what you're gonna do. What you're gonna expect week in and week out, right? One week you're this, 1 week you're that.
Yeah.
Well, in talking to Coach Powell, he had talked about how he was changing the lineup to try and create more opportunities. You mentioned the weather, which that had to be a huge factor. I mean, you could see the ball on the pitch.
Was that snow? Was that hail?
It was hail.
Hail.
It was a lot of hail. And me, I used to fix hail, and that's not even the type of hail you want to see as like a hail technician because that stuff was big. I mean, that was nasty. And you'd see the ball just as it traveled across the pitch, like hit a pond almost and stop.
Yeah,
so,
I saw that a couple of times, yeah.
Getting to the point, though, I'm wondering...
There was one spot that was like a bog or something. The ball just would not roll through at all.
They were swimming in it. Yeah, I mean, it was bad. So I think the field conditions do kind of make it a little bit tough to judge the play on the pitch. But I guess my question for you, Todd, would just be, do you think that maybe this lineup was kind of due to that and kind of trying to play a little bit more defensively to get that 1 point because the field, you had no idea how to predict how the ball was going to play?
Okay, the season's half over. 1 point is not going to cut it anymore.
But in those conditions, that's all. Do you think that maybe that lineup, because we have seen like some more aggressive formations the last couple weeks. This week we see him kind of go to a lot more defensive formation that hasn't worked for us in the past. But my question is, do you think that lineup might have been a result from the weather?
But the weather's going to affect both teams the same way.
True.
The only reason I could think maybe the weather had to play a part was, okay, let's not put all our offense on it because the weather conditions are slick. Someone could get hurt. But then you put Elizondo, who's injury prone.
True.
So I don't get it.
Maybe the ball was going to be more in the middle of the pitch, you figured. There weren't going to be as many deep balls and kind of counterattacks and stuff like that, so you kind of try and stack that mid. And then the other thing I don't know is you always hear this, whether it's NFL or soccer, is just the elevation. Like
in Colorado?
Yeah, do you think maybe that just played a factor a little bit in trying to play a little bit more defensively so that you weren't exposed and then you end up losing? I don't know.
I'd rather get 0 points and try for the win than
at this point
right now.
Yeah, at this
1
point
right now doesn't do you any good. And I want to hear from the other podcast. You all said, wait till July before you start worrying.
It's July.
Well, it's July, and we're in a worse position now
than we were earlier.
When we started complaining in April.
Yeah.
So.
Right. I think like I've been saying this a couple of weeks now. I don't think we're a top team. I think we're in the middle of the pack. We might make the playoffs. We're not hosting a playoff game, that's for sure. We're not going to be in the top four. We might be 8th, maybe 7th, but who knows? We might miss the playoffs completely if they keep playing like this. I'm not sure.
I keep thinking to myself, being part of the Spurs organization, maybe they're tanking the season for a higher draft pick. Right. But then again, that's not how soccer works. So,
are we going to get LeBron next year, or how does that work?
I heard Manu Ginobili had some goals for Argentina.
Okay, Manu and Parker. Parker's French.
France, yeah.
And where's Bruce? Seriously, he hasn't seen the field in weeks.
He's on a milk carton.
He's our second leading goal, tied for second in goals. He creates opportunities. He works his ass off on that pitch, and he's sitting on the bench. He creates opportunities, but he's not out there, and I don't get it.
The only light I'm seeing this season right, especially recently, has been Gordon, man. Gordon has been all over the front. Just going over through my notes here, he had on the 21st minute he had a shot. On the 34th he had a cross to Presley who couldn't finish it. He had a shot outside of the box on the 51st. He was the reason we got the penalty. There was a foul on him in the box. On the 64th, the 73rd, he had another shot, which was a great save by the keeper. I mean, to me, it's Gordon. If we don't have Gordon, I don't know who else is going to be producing the offense right now.
One thing
My only problem with Gordon, though, is how many of those shots did he have an outlet that may have had a better shot? Because he has a tendency to keep the ball too long and lose the ball and not make that final pass that, we've seen it all year.
Well,
now, mind you, I'm glad he's finally finding the back of the net. And another thing I don't like about the one striker is if someone gets this shot and there's a rebound, there's no one there.
Right.
Because we're not flooding that box. I'll take a cheap goal. I'll take that garbage goal because it bounced around and fucking went in.
Yeah.
If it leads to 3 points, give me that crappy goal. I'll take the freaking Sonny bounces off the back of the goalie's head into the net for all I care, as long as it gets in the back of the net right now.
Didn't Tierpak have one while he was laying on the ground and kicked it in?
No matter how they come.
Yeah, we don't care.
What you guys think about the penalty at the 45 minutes, Colorado's penalty? Was that a penalty? Was that a dive? Was he already on his way down?
I thought that was a little bit weak. I mean, I did. I thought that was a little bit weak, to issue that in those conditions and everything.
Is that on Restrepo? Do you think, was he too aggressive?
No, honestly, I thought Restrepo kind of just slid. He kind of pulled out and away from it and just slid. And to me, it looks like a clean slide by Restrepo. I mean, what's he supposed to do? Just sit back there on his line? He came out, he slid, he kind of pulled away from him. It's not like he extended and reached up and grabbed his leg or anything. I thought that was a little weak.
I think Restrepo slid and the player saw him coming and he purposely put his foot in his way and just did the whole Neymar thing, just dive.
Neymar. And then rolled for the next 20 yards.
Yeah, and then it was Castillo that had that through ball for Gordon and then for our penalty. Also, I think that it was also, it was called both ways. We had
and that's it came back. I mean, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
It came back. It ended up in a 1-1 draw, which is how I felt okay, you kind of gave them one, you gave us one, and there it is. You end in the tie. But I guess my only other thing with Gordon is I know he's getting a lot more aggressive offensively, but I feel like he wastes a lot of chances in just shanking them over top of the net and not putting them on target. And he's gotten better about that throughout the season, but that was kind of my gripe with him last season, at the last half of last season and the beginning of this season, is he gets a lot of quality chances and just wastes them. And for the player that he is and the talent that he is out there for San Antonio FC, Jamaican national player, this big signee, I was really excited about having him on the team. And, he's put a couple in the back of the net this year, but I feel like he has a lot of opportunities that, should be converted that just aren't. And maybe it's just the level of soccer that he's playing. And, this isn't the World Cup, where you see those crazy volleys that end up in the back of the net, like the second one that, was it France had?
France, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you see strikes like that, and then you go out and watch somebody just kick a field goal, and it's like, what are you doing on the pitch, man? But he's gotten better about it, but just one of the things that's kind of been a concern of mine for him.
So I don't mind him shooting. I just want him to shoot if he's has the best chance. If he doesn't have the best chance, lay it off to someone else.
But you also kind of had that gripe a little bit with, and I think we all have with a lot of the players that have that chance and then try and do something else with it, and then they extend the play and lose the opportunity. So it's
it's like, what do you want? You want them to take
the
extra
shot
pass,
or take the extra pass.
It's. I mean, I understand where Todd's come from.
I do too.
You want the best play possible. You want to put your players in the best chance possible to score. But at the same time, man,
if the pass isn't there, yeah, take the shot. But I keep going back to that one match where Alex Bruce is in the 6-yard box with no one around him, waving his arms, trying to get someone's attention. And then Gordon takes a shot.
With no angle. Yeah. And
which went into went into the fucking Bud Light beer bunker.
And that's what I mean about just like he gets a lot of chances and stuff like that and can convert, but his ratio is just leaves a little bit to be desired. I mean, put it on target at least. The goalie can screw up. I mean, that's always my thing when you're playing is at least put it on target and make them work for it. Doesn't have to be upper 90 every time, but definitely want to talk a little bit about San Antonio FC. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. Harry's not on with us, obviously, tonight. Wanted to talk about that match. Looking forward, did you guys have anything that you wanted to say for the 4th of July game that's going to be coming up on Wednesday? Start with you, Todd.
A month ago, Oklahoma looked like crap. The Energy are picking up points. They're doing exactly what we're not doing. And it should be a winnable game. It's at home.
4th of July.
I know we haven't had luck against the Energy before, but it's one of those on paper, we look to be the better team. But we're just not converting our chances. Especially like the free chances, corner kicks, we can't do it. And again, part of our starting lineup, why are all our players 5'6" and under? You're not gonna, win those aerial duels in that situation on a corner kick or a free kick. And we got to find a way to convert those free opportunities. And we got to play better. We got to play as a team. Stop the hero ball. Stop trying to do it all yourself. Look for that better outlet pass. If it's not there, then take the shot.
Play smarter, basically, is what I'm kind of hearing.
Yeah.
And work smarter, not harder, right? Like, that's basically what everybody's trying to do. Let the ball do the work. Heck, I'm getting old now, so it's like if I can just stand there and play a through ball, I'm all about that on my Sunday morning leagues. Just play smarter, let the ball do the work. Back to the basics. I feel like we just need to kind of get to, in terms of passing and possession and, like you said, looking for what the best opportunity is. What about you, Gordino? I know I'm excited for the dollar beers and fireworks that they're going to have out there. What are you looking forward to for the match versus OKC?
Dollar beers, that's it. I'm looking forward to this little game that Coach Powell has with Todd personally, with how many players he's gonna line up from the previous game. How many of the previous lineup is he gonna line up this game now? 7, 6. What's the over under on that?
We can start doing prop bets.
He can start picking people out of the freaking crowd. That's how off I've been.
Of the first rows there. Hey, come on. Yeah. Gotta win this one. I know we're saying this every week. It feels like we're saying this every single damn week. We gotta win this one. But we gotta win this one. And if not, then it's bye playoffs almost, man. Because I don't see them improving. The potential. We're always talking about. They have the potential to be the best team.
Oh, some of us have said that.
Potential is one thing, actual play is another, and the actual play as of right now, I don't see it improving. I think this is where we're at. This is our level. We might make it, we might not, but if we want to make it, this is winning at home is a big thing you got to do.
Yeah,
win at home.
I don't think we've really said yet like must win in the sense of like must win. I feel like we've kind of talked about how like for this, that, or the other, this is a good month to win to kind of like jump some points. But we are kind of getting to the point now where like it's just literally a must win, which it sucks to be in that position that you're having to sit there and say that. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job of being fair in terms of just where SAFC sits, what their chances are, and kind of how we felt like we were heading towards this path where we're going to get to a situation where, like, all of a sudden now we're in must-win situations. And I think that's fair to say.
It felt early in the season like, maybe we're starting off, so we're a second-half team. But
trust the process.
Trust the process. We're going to get better. But now it's like, are we going to get better? Are we going to get worse? I think we've just reached a plateau that we can't we can't go up anymore as of right now.
We've had good matches, but have we seen any sustained progress?
Consistency.
Getting better from match day one. And I can't say we have. We look, for lack of a better word, we look bad on the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, so bad. My question is did you guys see Frank Tayu's goal that he had this past weekend? It was phenomenal. And it just seems like you see some of these players and the success that they're having, you know, with these other teams. And it's like, did we almost just hurt ourselves in like losing some of the talent that we had, you know, with how we're struggling now this season? I almost wonder, just seeing the success that some of like Michael Reed's having out there in Nashville and seeing Frank Tayu put him in the back of the net. I mean, it's almost disheartening, you know, to see these guys that used to play for us, and now you just see them succeeding with a different squad. And I almost wonder if we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot with this season. I know we kind of brought back a core, but are we missing certain pieces that could have been that difference with where we talk about we have the potential versus we talk about the results? Are some of those players kind of key and why we're not seeing the results of how we feel like we should be playing?
You know what? With his goal, Castillo moves up to 9 goals in total for SAFC. The overall club leader is still Billy Forbes with 10.
And
what does that tell you?
Season.
He did that in one season. What does that tell you? Is that we're not putting in goals, or our strikers aren't putting in goals, because it's Forbes with 10, Castillo with 9, and then Elizondo with 8 over 2 seasons.
And then how many of those were PKs for Castillo? You know what I mean? Like, that's where I feel like that should just kind of be an asterisk there, because you can say he's had goals this year, but they've been PKs, which, not to take anything away from him, he's a great PK taker. He's basically your Capitan when it comes to that. You know, he's cool, calm, collected, gets the result, you know, which is what you want in a PK taker. But it's not the same player as you have with like a Billy Forbes, where, you know, they're creating chances, opportunities, and scoring in regular time.
Now, he's not having the best year over there in Phoenix, but the year that he did have, nobody's having
that kind of success.
This year. Nobody's having it.
So also, that's you go and look at the team last year, and there's just some key pieces I feel like that are kind of missing. That maybe not that it was all Billy that was doing that, obviously.
Oh no.
But
we played good last year, but I still, even last year, I got frustrated. There was players that I thought should be on the pitch that weren't getting the playing time.
Yeah.
That I thought could have made us that number 1 seed.
So,
you know, players like AJ, you know, why, you know, he's in the same position as Bruce is right now. Why isn't he seeing the pitch more?
Yeah.
You know, and even when you're doing the subs, you know, late in the game, why is Bruce still sitting? You know, he's shown that he, even off the bench, he can provide that little bit of spark, you know, and
even if it's just like with 10 minutes. I mean, they were putting him in like late, and he was still showing some energy and working both ways, you know. But let's wrap this up with one more topic. And I know this whole episode has kind of been just sporadic and impromptu. But kind of getting now that we're halfway through the season, and I'll start with you, Todd. Do you think, like, if we don't make the playoffs this year, all of a sudden Coach Powell, not that I don't like him as an individual, not that I don't like him as a person, not that I don't even like him as a coach, but do you think maybe his job kind of starts to come under fire a little bit? If like we talked about, you know, just do you call this a successful season and everything? Do you feel like this would be a successful season for San Antonio FC if we don't even make the playoffs?
If we don't, as we sit right now, I don't think it's been a successful season for San Antonio Football Club in any aspect. I think they failed at fan engagement this year. I think they're failing on the pitch this year.
Attendance is dropping, obviously.
Attendance is dropping, which has to do with the fact that they're not engaging with their fans and the
product on the pitch
isn't where it should be. I don't think they'd make a coaching change after the season. You know, it's the Spurs organization. I don't see them making that change. You know, the last year was a success all around. And you do expect some ups and downs.
Sure.
I think he would be on the hot seat to start next season, though. But I don't think I don't think they would get rid of him after this season.
Not this organization, because you have seen some coaching changes now in the USL, which is the only reason I kind of brought it up is, do you feel like Coach Powell would be one of those possibilities? But what about you, Jose? What are your thoughts?
Yes, he's out, period. I think he's out. I mean, why would you keep him around if they're not making the playoffs? The first year we didn't make the playoffs. Okay, we were the first year team. Everybody was learning. The team was built in like 3 months.
That was the excuse.
Yeah, that was the excuse. The second year we had a good run. This year you had a whole off-season to work with. You had a great core to come back with, and you're putting this product on the field. Spurs. I think Spurs. They want to have a success. As you can see with the basketball team, they're going through some changes right now, and I believe they'll go through some changes with their soccer team too. In order to put butts in seats, you need good performances on the field, on the court. So
But you also need good performances from your staff that engages the community. Which, if you followed my social media, it'd be nice if they could actually at least answer my question about why every single event is north of a certain line in a certain demographic of the city of San Antonio, and forgetting where over 50% of the population of the city lives, because there are people on the south side. Thank you very much. We do go to your matches, and by my closet, we do spend quite a lot of money on your merchandise.
And I get where you're coming from. I think part of the social media thing is, just not to engage sometimes. I get where you're coming from. It's like, at least like acknowledge it. Thank me for my feedback. Like you want feedback from your fans and stuff like that, in terms of like they put the South scoreboard clock up there and you want to know how to get people more engaged and stuff like that. But I think sometimes too on social media, they just feel like maybe it's not the platform to really have some of those discussions. I don't know.
Okay,
This is
they
all
don't
new to me.
have the discussion, but make the change.
There you go.
Plenty of bars in the downtown area that you could host a watch party that would be easy for everybody in the city to get to.
But
I'm
some of
sorry,
the bars,
when
they're part of
something
that.
is north of the fucking loop. That's a little ridiculous.
Yeah,
I'm not driving 40 minutes
I get
to
that.
watch a match.
And you already do it for every home game. Like, I
Yeah.
feel you, because I'm on the northwest side. Like, it literally, if there's no traffic, which most of the time there isn't, it's still a 35-minute drive to get over there to the northeast side, living over here in, like, the Helotes area. It'd be nice if there was something outside of that circle that when there wasn't a match, I could go to that was maybe a little bit closer. So I get where you're coming from. As far as like the bars and stuff like that go, though, they built that whole San Antonio bar network where I think a lot of these different bars that they do the watch parties at were forced to buy so many season tickets, and then they could become a part of this San Antonio FC bar network, which to me is almost part of the reason why you see the fall in actual attendance. I know they'll still claim the tickets, but when you look at the stadium, it's like how many of those seats that are empty are because Twin Peaks bought 40 season tickets in order to become part of the San Antonio bar network so
And
they
did
can
nothing
have
with them.
a watch party, and then they don't do anything with them. Exactly.
And that would be great. And I don't mind that. But hey, Twin Peaks, if you got that many tickets, if you got 5 season tickets because of it, guess what? Have a fucking raffle.
do something.
out
Do
every
something.
week.
Advertise it.
Do something with those tickets.
Because I'd rather not have the watch party there and like see people in those seats or see those seats getting used. I agree with you, but I know of other bars that are part of that bar network where they have 10 season tickets. And it's like to them, raffling off a ticket is nothing. They don't care. They got the season tickets because they had to in order to get a watch party there at their location last year. And so I think that's really kind of hurt somewhat what they're able to do in terms of just watch parties and attendance. And, I look at the Dallas Cowboys just because that's my football team to relate it back to that. And so much of Jerry World is just sponsors. and it's not the environment you want for a football game. It's people that are there to entertain other people that bought the seats, you know, to be somebody. And it's not what you want as a fan, you know. And
You know,
Cowboys,
with the Rangers, the baseball teams do that a lot too.
yeah, and it's just like when you go to a game. I mean, half the people are sitting down. When I go to the Cowboys games, you know, our team would be on offense and they'd be cheering. And whether it was Romo or Dak, they'd have to quiet the offense like, hey, stupid, you're not supposed to scream right now. I need to be able to audible. You do that on defense, you know, because you just create an atmosphere of uneducated fans that are there for a business meeting, not there for the actual game on the field, you know, so...
So moving back to the topic, what about you, Scott? Do you think Powell gets sacked if we don't make the playoffs, or what would the conditions be in order for him to get sacked?
I'm going to go with Todd on this one. I think he's definitely on the hot seat moving into next season. I mean, I don't know. I guess that would be a Tim Holt decision. I know, like he said, kind of SS&E. They're very loyal, but I think Coach Pop has kind of earned that loyalty where the Spurs can have a couple bad seasons and they're not going to let him
championships,
go.
man.
5 rings.
You know,
Exactly. Whereas Coach Powell, you know, it's a little bit different scenario where you're trying to build this brand. But part of my question, I guess, is with the disengagement that we feel like we've seen kind of this season from SS&E, how much of this is like their baby? How much of this is their child that they just want to see grow? Now with the MLS most likely not coming to San Antonio, do you think SS&E really cares that much about San Antonio FC?
It's still a business, and don't you want your business to succeed?
So how is that business going to succeed, though?
So compare this to the other lower league team that they have, the Austin Spurs and the Rampage. Do you think, as far as a business, the SAFC is more profitable than other, or how would they stand?
That's hard for me to say.
I have no idea about the other team.
Yeah, and that's hard. I mean, they cut the Stars. So how profitable were the Stars for them to just dump the WNBA here in San Antonio, which was the only women's professional sport you basically had in San Antonio, and they were willing to axe that, probably due to the fact that it wasn't profitable. But I doubt San Antonio FC is generating that much revenue that, you know, what they're going to take on a fine of like $1.5 million or something like that if we don't get MLS because of the stadium.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's going to be a big hit. You know, they almost did away with the San Antonio Rampage. I saw talks of that preseason last year, that where the San Antonio Rampage wasn't going to be a team this year, and then somehow it still was. So I don't really know where they stand. And then there's rumors of, if the Columbus Crew comes to Austin, SS&E having some kind of ownership in that. So, I mean, as far as Coach Powell getting sacked, I think that's probably like 10th on their list of things as an organization for SS&E that they need to accomplish. I think their main focus right now is the Spurs, and I think part of the hesitancy and them allowing another professional team here in San Antonio, whether it be NFL, whether it be MLB, whether it be MLS, is that that's their bread and butter. I mean, they've built that rapport and everything with that organization for the last 20 or 30 years. You know, if the Spurs now, with all the stuff happening with Kawhi, not to get into too much news outside of soccer, go into a slump for a few years, how does bringing in another professional team in San Antonio and seeing that success hurt their brand in the NBA?
I think it would only hurt them if San Antonio FC would start winning championships and bring in fans to the. I mean, because they really don't cross seasons except for, 2-3 months, 1 month in the beginning and 1 month at the end.
And they don't really cross fan bases that much, I feel like. I mean, I know you guys here in San Antonio, it's like Spurs, 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 so obviously it crosses fan bases. But for people that aren't from San Antonio, it's like I can go to a soccer game and not care anything about basketball, and vice versa. So I don't see that, but I just, I hear that talk sometimes on a different talk radio that I listen to, with this kind of being a Spurs town and SS&E and stuff like that, and they're very closed.
But the thing is you see the USL growing.
Yeah.
And I know it's not Major League Soccer, big fucking deal, but you see the USL as a league growing. You see attendances across the board growing. You're in a city of 2 million people, and we're like averaging a realistic average. I don't care what they announce, but realistic average of 4,500 to 5,000 people. And what does that boil down to other than for community engagement.
And last season,
you should be able to get 8,000 people who, and we've shown that this city likes soccer. You know, you see it.
International matches.
Yeah. So,
Gold
and you've
Cup.
seen it at San Antonio matches. You know, we've had it, you know, for the SAFC. So why can't we do it consistently?
And that's what I was going to say is last season it was like 7,000, I think, was their average attendance, which I feel like was a fair number, maybe 6,500.
That seemed like a fair number last year. But, like, the last couple matches, we look over 118, so we look over, what is it, 121? And there's been, like, 10 people in that section.
Well, that whole west section there.
You know,
I guess it's, east.
East, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, there's complete sections that you're seeing, you know, a handful of people in. 105 is always empty, but it's center midfield, so it's probably owned by some, you know, corporation.
Where all the bar networks are, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Well, let's get into our final minute. I mean, I get where we're all coming from, and like we'll continue this discussion throughout the season, but we're coming up now on an hour, so just let's get into the final thoughts. Todd, what are your final thoughts for tonight?
I can't make it on Wednesday. I already gave away my ticket. If you are a season ticket holder and you cannot make it to the 4th of July match for San Antonio Football Club, get a hold of somebody and give them your ticket that will go. If you need to, message us and we will find someone who can use your ticket to get an ass in those seats.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough, man. Yeah, no, exactly. I always hate, like, for me, any event, if you have a ticket, you don't go, it's like there's probably somebody that would have been willing to go to that, you know, maybe they didn't have the money for it or just like, oh, hell yeah, let me go check it out. So I hate wasted tickets, like whether it's music, whether it's sports, you know, like give it to somebody. Somebody wants to go. Post it on Facebook, whatever. What about you, Jose? Final thoughts?
Yeah, my final thought is, hold on.
Uh-oh. Unveiling. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Mexico's out, so I'm on board with the. Who am I with?
Who are you with?
I'm with France. I'm on the France bandwagon, and I'm on the Laker bandwagon right now. So.
Go Lakers.
Mexico made it further than Germany.
Hey, you know what's sad though is I didn't change my gear whenever Germany lost. So I mean I don't know, you taking that scarf down right there, like that's.
It's over. The dream is over. Going to Qatar 2022. No alcohol will be sold at the stadiums or anywhere near the stadiums.
Is that true? That's false.
That's a great. Yeah, they have to. They're gonna make fan zones hour away from the stadium because their law or their their religion.
The Sharia law.
Alcohol, yeah.
No, because
that's weird.
I had a buddy in the military that he spent time in Qatar and used to tell me about how I could basically make bathtub hooch whenever he was over there doing like security services and stuff like that. And so a friend of mine was talking about, hey man, it'd be cool to go to like the World Cup there in Qatar. And I was like, yeah, but you can't drink there.
They can't. So they've already started. I think Budweiser is one of the biggest sponsors, and they've actually there's rumors where they've want to get meetings with the leaders of Qatar to figure out something.
That's kind of what he was telling me. Is he like Google searched it because he didn't believe me, and like he told me about the fan zones. I didn't realize they were going to be an hour away from the stadiums and stuff. But you know.
Goodbye.
Money trumps everything. Mexico's out, obviously.
Yeah, Mexico's out, so I'm on the French bandwagon. And also maybe something to cover next time, or when we do another special podcast. Toronto 2 announced that they will be moving on to D3. So they're the first two teams moving down. Are other D2 or other two teams gonna follow them?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is RGV gonna follow them? Hopefully. We'll see what happens.
And that's kind of to Todd's point, talking about the USL developing and stuff like that. I kept wanting to mention that, you know, because that is exciting news. But you're right. We probably should save that for the next episode. So we'll talk a little bit more about Pro Rel within the USL and just D2 teams and everything else. But I guess my final kind of thought for the night is I appreciate the shirt Coach Rex wrote. Will represent Samba. And that wasn't the only new merch that came out. We got the new Mission City Firm scarves that we finally got. Our City, Our Club, SAFC Pride. And don't forget about the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable's World Cup competition, because Gordinho's SAFC Pride painting that he did is going to be raffled or not raffled, but given away to the leader. So that's been interesting. Glad Belgium pulled it off today. I had them in my selection. Missed out on Portugal, but the other had France over Argentina. So I think for this round, I was looking pretty good. We'll see what happens tomorrow with Sweden, and it's gonna be interesting. So this is the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. Thanks for tuning in. We out.